welcome to the stream. If only you could see my setup. My setup is terrible. I have cords all over the place. Nothing is organized. I have two pairs of headphones because one of the headphones is broken but has the microphone, and I have the other headphone so I can actually hear things. So it's just an awful setup, and luckily you can't see it because I haven't set up any cameras. And I don't know if I will. I probably won't, but I'll draw anyway. So this is what we were working on last week, and it took me way too long to finish the drawing. So I'm going to spend that time, or not that time, but this time, trying to paint in all of our color and just really see how far we can get this character. It took me way too long to finish the drawing last time. I'm not gonna stop complaining about that. And outside of the stream, I worked on a few specific things. For one, I went back and forth on the drawing. So I have this too many layers. I have this drawing here, this concept of a bike, which now that I'm looking at, because I haven't touched this thing in a week. I worked on it more after the stream, but then I just stopped working on it. And now looking at this again, I kind of like this as well. It's supposed to be like a hovercraft kind of thing, right? So, but this is also pretty cool. And I developed a mask for it, which I probably will end up using in this stream. I was gonna delete it, but I think I'll just hang on to it because it's relatively useful for what we're about to do. So I'm gonna actually go in and clean up my project a little bit because it's kind of a mess. So we have all these old sketches, the construction sketches, and I'm just gonna delete all that. Typically I like to keep the older stuff, but it's kind of weak because it's so easy to not commit to anything with these programs, especially Photoshop. You can always just delete whenever you want. So, hell, you have to delete. You have to delete the past and move on to the future. So, whatever I don't like, I'm just going to get rid of. So, for instance, I'm going to get rid of this. Or maybe I won't. Okay, fine. I'll just keep it. I'm going to select these two, Control G, create a group, and put this into hover bike 2, just in case I want to go back and screw around with a different bike after all my colors are set, because I cannot commit. Let's call this gray for the gray background. So we have our background sketch, our sketch copy, which is the original drawing. That was our original drawing. So I'm going to get rid of that. And now we have our sketch and our mask. So I'm feeling pretty good. I got my coffee. And it's finally sunny here in Spain. It has been raining for a month straight, which is just completely unheard of in this country. The whole country is just won't stop complaining about it. It's hilarious. Even though it was complaining about the drought, now it's complaining about too much rain. So, alright, I'm just being anal here. And procrastinating. That's actually exactly what I'm doing, is I'm procrastinating. So if we just look at our silhouette just by itself, it's pretty nice, right? It's pretty awesome. And what I'm going to do in this stream, hopefully with the time allotted, I'm really wasting a lot of time here babbling away, is fill in all the color. So basically, just to give you an idea of what I plan on doing, I'm going to make a few layers. Make one layer, call this color, another layer, call this shadow, and another layer, call this brights. One more layer, and call this paint. So I'm going to hide all those. In my color layer, I'm going to have all the colors, all the base colors. I'm going to color my sketch red just to differentiate it from everything else. My shadow layer, I'm going to put this on a multiply, and that's going to be our shadow layer. our brights. I'm going to put this onto probably overlay, because overlay usually works out pretty well. Oh, I just put my brights onto overlay. And this will be sort of where the direct sunlight is hitting or glinting or what have you. And then paint, I'm just going to paint on top of everything. Actually, I'm going to put the paint above the drawing layer. So now, let's just go in and start futzing around. So I'm actually going to do a BKG. BKG stands for background in my own personal language. BKG color. And now I'm going to start laying in the color. And there's just one more thing I want to do, because I don't want to work on top of a gray. I typically don't really like working on top of a gray. I like working on top of color, or at least I'm just pretending I do, because I think that makes me more distinguished. So let's go normal, and I want this to be a relatively warm scene. So, well, not that warm. And let's drop the saturation and the brightness. Yeah, something kind of like that brown. That's kind of nice. It's kind of nice. Maybe a little bit more red. Yeah, she's in the desert, right? So, all right. And then I'm going to go into the actual drawing itself. And I'm going to apply the same color. Basically what I did, I applied a, so if I hide that, now this drawing layer, the sort of pencil layer, has the same color effect, or layer effect. So I just did the color overlay to the layer. Now, in order to work with the layer, I'm going to raster size it. Turn that back on. I'm going to raster size that too. That just kind of flattens the layer within itself, and it gets rid of the layer effect, so the layer becomes more flexible. And I'm going to press Control U to bring up my hue saturation values and lightness values. I'm going to drop the lightness of the drawing. So it has a little bit. It's not gray. It has a little bit of the background color. But it's not gray anymore, which is nice. So when I paint, those gray lines aren't going to show up so much, and I'm not going to feel the need to try to hide them. They usually are a real bummer, and they suck. I hate them. So, all right. So this is like a desert scene, right? And usually in deserts, there's not a lot of clouds. So I'm gonna make a nice blue background. And for some of those of you out there that know me, you know that I am colorblind. Surprise. I'm colorblind. Alright, let's go ahead and just fill that. Actually, let's see what we get with this. That's kind of neat. Already this is looking way better. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill that. I'm going to drop the saturation a little bit, bring up the brightness slightly, just like a really just hot, dry day. I'm going to press G to open up my gradients. And I'm going to take our color here. I'm going to go into the brightness. I'm going to bring up the brightness and then drop the saturation a little bit just to kind of get the sort of horizon, the horizon line there. There. Maybe even a little bit more. And I think, let's see, I'm actually going to make this, I'm going to put this on a new layer so that I can adjust it. So that I can adjust. And I'm going to drop the saturation just a wee bit, kind of like that. That's a pretty nice color. Hey, wow. Okay. All right, and then within the background, so I want like a nice kind of bristly brush. I'm going to go into Kyle Webster's. I have a huge collection of Kyle Webster brushes. I have no idea how much money I've given this guy. And there's only like 5 brushes that I actually use. I don't even know which one I actually really want to use. I wanted something that's sort of natural. How about supernatural? I like this brush. Ooh, it's running really slow. Oh, Kyle. Alright, so I'm just going to take my background color and yeah, this is running way too slow. I need another color or another brush. Oh my god. Let's try these palette knives. These just kind of run a little slow too, but better. Alright, the palette knife is cool because you get some nice shapes. And that's exactly what I want in the background. And the background, I'm envisioning the background of being somewhat colorful, but for the most part, rather muted. I'm planning on muting the background as much as I can. And I'm actually going to take our ground and just bring that up a little bit. So she's standing on sand, right? And with this nice brush, make some nice texture. It's already looking like a very deserty scene. And now because we had our undercolor, our underpainting, a little bit of that is poking through on our base layer or on our color layer. So yeah, nice. And I don't want to miss my horizon line either. I have a very specific horizon line, so I'm going to open up my mask and check that out. That's already looking pretty goddamn badass. So, alright, what I'm going to do to make my process go by that much faster is, since I've already developed this mask, I'm not going to make another mask because that's just stupid. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to control click on the mask layer, go to my color layer, jump down here, and then click on that to make a mask. Now, I can go in, and I want her hood to be, yeah, I'm about to show you what I'm about to do, because it's just dank. So the cool thing is that I cannot draw outside of her silhouette, because I have this mask set up. So this just makes this process a lot easier. And actually, people, I think I want her mask color to be the same as our color overlay, but let's actually bump up the saturation a little bit and then drop just the brightness just a tiny bit, just to kind of stand out from the rest of the background. You see? You see that? You see what I'm talking about? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna save, because this is already coming together. I should stop bragging, because I think I'm just setting myself up. So I'm using this fun brush. I might actually use another brush, because this brush is a little problematic, because I think I'm gonna have to, yeah, I'm just gonna use my regular hard round pressure brush. This brush is, you know, with all the brushes that are out there, this is the one I always jump back to. Always jump back to. Alright, so just to kind of quickly explain what I'm doing, this layer that I'm painting on, this color layer, is just her baseline colors. Just, you know, so her scarf is red, this will be sort of like a gray, dark gray here. And I want her, this part to be, let's see, let's drop saturation, let's bring this up to be I want some sort of like almost like an egg yolk kind of color. To be almost like a white. Right? So this is her shirt. So she's pretty funky flex. And then maybe your pants are the same color, you know, that kind of desert traveler white. That's what I that's the name of this color. Desert traveler white. Okay. And that means her shirt should be the same color as well. And I'm just going to paint right over the handlebars of the bike. So the reason I'm using this brush instead of that nice crazy brush with all the nice texture is because, let me think about why I'm doing that. I'm doing that because I just want a little bit more control. I'll use that other brush in other places, but as of right now, I just want control. I think that will be over there. I'm going to sample this color, drop down my brightness, and paint in my belt. You know what? I'm actually going to sample our main color and drop that down in brightness so that we have a nice brown belt. Okay. Alright, she's arriving slowly. Now, I'm going to go to this kind of dark gray. I'm going to bring that down even further. Just to fill in her pantaloons. Or not even these pants. These are more like sort of shin guard leggings. And I'm trying to stay loose. This is actually pretty loose for me. It may not look like it, but it is. Because I've found that getting too tight at this stage it's not very beneficial. Because it's pretty slow too. I mean, if you're gonna go in and paint everything, like, you don't have to figure out all of your problems in the drawing stage. You can just figure out most of them, all the weird stuff. But stuff like in here within the engine and this crazy thing up here, a lot of it I'm planning on figuring out in the painting stage. Because within the drawing stage, you know, there's still some unknown unknowns. Or rather, if you're, you know, savvy, you could say there's known unknowns, and you can prepare for them and sort of just attack them. It's kind of cool. Okay, so then I'm going to make her hand the same color. And I mentioned before that I'm colorblind, and it's not like I can, you know, only see in black and white. I can see pretty damn well. My only hang up is I have trouble distinguishing between colors. But one problem I also run into a lot, I think it's probably just my weakness with color in general, Excuse me, just drinking some coffee. Let's bring that over there. Maybe it's like some sort of a necklace kind of thing. What was I saying? Oh yeah, color. Yeah, my real hang up is I'm just not that good with color. I have trouble seeing color relationships. Let's bring this up and let's add just a little bit of blue. Something like that. Oh, what just happened? What did I just do? I pressed a button and now, oh, I have my quick layer. I hate that. Okay, oh, I'm in my mask layer. Oh man. That was weird. All right, let's bring up my saturation, brightness. This will be her skin color. Okay. But yeah, what I like to do is I like to lay down just a bunch of colors and then later make them harmonious. Because that way I always feel like I have a little bit more control over the process. You know, I'm not freaking out the whole time. And once everything is fully painted and finished, I don't have to make all these color adjustments. So in here, you know, I'm putting in these colors, but her face is going to be in shadow. So a lot of this is essentially going to be a very similar color. But I'm making this all the same color anyway. So her robe is red. Actually, let's leave that as the undercolor. And what should this like scarf color be? What about like a yellow? We just went like straight yellow. It's kind of cool. Maybe it should be the same red. You know, not get too crazy. Or maybe we should get crazy. Maybe we should get real crazy. That actually makes a little bit more sense to me. All right, so we're getting somewhere. We're definitely getting somewhere. And I wanted her glasses. I'm gonna select this grayish color and move a little bit more warmer to the warm end of the spectrum. And just fill in these glasses. Nice. Oh man. She's a badass. Alright, I'm gonna select just her glasses. And the nice thing about you know, making your colors nice and solid like this is you can just jump in, select the color. This is what I like to do. You select the color, you jump back out, and then you can adjust one color at a time. Yeah, I like that a little bit more. Yeah. That's super dope. How do you say dope? Alright, now I'm going to do the same thing to the bike now. But the bike, I'm going to make the color layer, I'm going to put it on a different layer. Yeah, I'm going to do that on a different layer. So I'm going to call this rider color, make a new layer, call this bike color. By the way, the hotkey to make a new layer is Control-Shift-N. And then you can name it, you can do all sorts of stuff. Use previous layers. Clipping mask, you can change the color, you can change the mode. So it's one of my go-to hotkeys. I use it all the goddamn time. So I want this mask to be on my bike color layer. So one slick little thing you can do is press Alt, click on the mask, and then drag it up. And now I have it on my bike color layer. So now I'm going to go in and futz with the bike. And what color do I want the bike to be? So that's probably something I should have thought of. You know what? Let's just fucking throw something in there. See if we like it. No. What about more of like a steel, kind of grayish almost? Maybe get some green in there. Drop the brightness. Something kind of like that. I think I kind of want her bike to be, you know, almost like the same hue as this undercolor here. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna select the undercolor, and I'm just gonna bring up. Actually, let's just jump right into here, and let's just bring up the brightness. And I'm just gonna start filling that in because I like this color. Color. You know, just as a starting point, because then if I don't like it, I can always jump back out and change it, which is typically my go-to move. Because like I said, with Photoshop, it's just almost impossible to commit. And I'm actually going to stay within the color spectrum of our chippy undercolor. And actually, I'm going to change the color of this, fill it with that, and then just kind of bring that up a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Oops. That's kind of interesting. And then we can pull this color over here on that side. So obviously this is pretty messy. Now let's take this and let's bring that down a shade. Brightness down. Whoa. Sorry. Ugh. Okay. Fill in this guy. And since this layer is on top of our heroine, we need to work around the hand and her arms. So with my eraser, I'm going to just erase what is not needed. Something kind of fly. Alright, I think I want some of that steely gray for like the undercarriage, like all the metal and all that fun junk, because this area underneath the bike is not really resolved. So I'm gonna have to do quite a bit of work to resolve that. Fill that in. Okay, just cleaning this up just a tiny bit. And like I said before, you know, everything that's this color, I can just go in and select it. And I need to make sure that contiguous, I think that's how you say it, is turned off, And then if I select one point of color, it selects all the points of color. So now I can go in and that's actually kind of cool. Yeah. So once I set up all my blocks of color, then I can go in and, in a sense, start concepting the color. Or playing with the color, I should say. And when this process is nice and loose, typically you have a nice loose painting. And you definitely don't want to get hung up too quick in a painting, because that shows through in the final painting. Like, it doesn't, a painting looks best, or drawing, whatever, music as well. Everything just works best when it seems effortless. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't put effort into anything. What I am saying is that don't try so hard. Because one thing that happens, kind of like the swoop here, it's kind of cool. One thing that happens with my work a lot is I'll get, like that. Well, that's the thing. Like, when you get hung up on the details too soon, you might have heard that. If you're an artist, you might have heard about getting hung up in the details too soon, or stay nice and loose, loosey-goosey. When you're super tight in the early stages, you have no room of exploration and letting easy things happen. Or, I'm sorry, not easy things, happy accidents, like the Bob Ross kind of happy accident. And in painting, that's really like, it's kind of like jazz almost, like it's those are the things that really make a painting, are those happy accidents. And what kind of seems to make an approach or a technique is one's methodology for sort of setting themselves up for those happy accidents, because you can't be so in control of every single thing that you do. Okay, and then let's make this platform down here the same color. Okay, pretty interesting. Interesting. Definitely getting somewhere. Alright, I think we're good with color. Let's just remember this. I'm not brushing it out, I'm erasing it, because we're in our bike color layer. Okay. Now we need to jump up here, and I wonder, what's in a wonder ball? I'm going to select this color. I'm going to select this color, Alt, delete, and fill that. I like that. I like that. I like the sort of dark kind of frame. Do I like it? Well, I definitely like it better than the light. What about this? What if I just did it all that color? No. Alright, let's now jump up here and fill in the handlebar. And this is, so I guess where I'm going with this is that this is going to be, this handlebar, like all the bars and everything, they're going to be sort of like a chrome. And typically this is kind of the way you want to start off with that is with this type of color. Are we still? What's going on? How come I can't paint there? There we go. Okay. It's actually kind of the same color as this. It's actually the exact same color, and I arrived at them completely by accident. So I'm going to grab our undercolor, bring it way down, and fill in our handlebar. And the undercolor is great because you could just keep picking from it and then moving slightly away from that color. So that's one reason I don't really like working from gray. All right, biome. Cool. All right, it's kind of cool. Just to you can flip things around, check out how it's doing, and the chrome parts. So the chrome sections, I wonder what if I filled in that here? What would that look like? No. Okay. I'm going to leave that as it is. It'll probably change, most likely. I'm going to jump into my background layer. And what I just did, by the way, if you press V, you bring up your move tool. And then if you just click on a color, you jump to that layer. So that's a really nice way to jump between layers. So I'm just going to jump to my background layer just by clicking on it. And just kind of fill in, just kind of clean up some of this ground here. Sort of distinguish where the ground is in comparison to the buildings. All right, cool. So about 40 minutes in, and we got a pretty nice color sketch. Yay. So now we want to add our shadow. And this is usually my favorite part, is blocking in the shadows. And this is also where you get like a lot of, this is when our knowledge of drawing and form, lighting, this is, when things start to just get fun. Unable to sync. Let's see. Hope you can't hear that. Okay, cool. Now my desktop audio is very annoying. All right, so I'm just gonna clean up some of my mess here. Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Never happened to Scooby-Doo. Okay. You can just imagine the wind blowing around. Yeah, this is gonna be such a cool drawing. It's gonna be filled with like dust. And one thing I've realized, there's one thing I was kind of, because I took a nice walk before the live stream because it's actually nice outside, and it hasn't been nice for a very long time. And I was thinking about what the hell I'd want to talk about, and I don't think I really want to talk about anything, actually. But one thing I did want to mention is that it's something I've been thinking about is when you're working on a drawing or whatever, and it's not a good idea to think of it as a portfolio piece, because then you're just not having a good time. And when you're having a good time with a drawing, and you're not taking it so seriously, you're not taking yourself so seriously, it typically comes out a lot better. A lot of the best stuff I've ever done was all just, yeah, it's kind of nice. It was all just stuff that I really just had a good time with. You know, I'd sit down and just you know, bank something out in a couple of hours, and it's you know, usually that's like the best thing I've ever done. So I guess it's easier said than done to just get yourself into the mindset of doing that every time. But yeah, get yourself into that mindset. God damn it. All right, no more dilly-dallying. Let's get our shadows in. So the way I like to do shadows is I like to first think about, let's make some notes here. Some notes. I like to first think about the color of the light. So the light is, so it's the sun, right? So it's going to be like a yellow. And it's direct sunlight. So I need to think about where the sun is coming from, maybe like just behind her. Is it coming, you know, from the front? Like so, like this arrow indicates. And what I was originally thinking is that the sun is sort of, is like, you know, if this arrow kind of, the sun is coming from that direction, so that the shadow sort of falls this way, and in a way sort of follows the composition a little bit, because if she's this way, you know, we can get, because of the shadows, of the directions of the shadows, we can get some nice shadow shapes that follow her stance. And for instance, if I were to flip this, you know, it kind of sort of goes against, it sort of goes against the you know, their overall composition. So and more like, okay, let's think about it this way. If it goes this way, it follows the composition of the bike, but if it goes this way, it follows her composition. And since she's the main character, I'm going to go with the sunlight that way. So let's see what happens. So step 2 of our light, we know where our light's going to be coming from. Now we need to choose a color for our multiply layer. And so what color is the shadow going to be, right? The shadow in a day like this, where it's nice and blue and bright, is going to have a specific tint, because everything that's not being hit by the shadow is going to be lit by the sky. So if I just select the sky as a color and just start filling this in, we get a pretty decent sense of color pretty fast of that sky color. So now we're just blocking in shadows. So this is a little, her face is a little obscured, but one thing that could potentially help, let's see if we knock that down a little bit. And what if we sort of form up the shadows slightly? So this is more like that. Just get a little bit of rim here. Sort of falling on her belly slightly. crest coming down like that. And then we can get some rim here. Because it will be hitting, because the light will be hitting our back. So something like that. And just erased everything that's on the bike. Now, the decision here is whether or not I actually like this light source. Of course, our boots. And they'll be lit up by the ground slightly, so. Now, do I like this light source? You know, we can even try a couple of different types of lighting. I actually like that. I actually think that's pretty cool. I actually think that's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Because we're getting exactly what I was just talking about. That sort of, you know, that sort of directional kind of shadow, which looks pretty cool. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave that the way it is. I like it, and I like the color of it too. So if I get rid of my sketch, you can see the color, and I'm gonna bump up the opacity. I've been knocking down the opacity just by pressing just by pressing V, and then I can hit the numerical keys and then mess around with the opacity. So one thing you can do that's pretty slick with shadow is, let's see, yeah, you can sort of reveal it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the whole layer with that shadow color, okay? As if she is being lit from the back. Now I'm going to take my mask, apply it, and then move my mask back up. Okay? Now, well, actually, I don't really need to move. I don't need this mask, so I can just delete this mask. And then I can make a new mask. Power of masks. And then remove what I don't need. And this typically gives you some nicer, this gives you some pretty nice kind of fades, you know, and you have a little bit more control over the shape of your lines. And it's also nice because if you want to expose or hide, you just press X. So you see over here, like over here on the left, if I press X, I switch back and forth from exposing to hiding. So hiding makes it more bright, right? And just look at that. Look at how we are so it's almost like this kind of, the lighting situation is almost like a daytime or like sort of evening, right? Or no, not evening, but just about evening, like it's about to get dark. hide that. So I might have to change the color of the sky to reflect that. But I like this. Okay, and then just got a little bit of light on her hips here. And you can see, like, with this hiding and exposing technique, I can really you know, get some nice effects with my painting. And of course, back here, expose this because that'll be getting hit by the light as well. Blend that off a little bit. Belt. Let's see. Let's get some of these, you know, like this pant leg, and of course here too. This will be heavily in the light. Her leg coming up like that, and I actually can't even see where I'm going with this, so I'm going to drop the opacity just so I can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm going to bring up the opacity a little bit more. Oh, 80. Let's do 70. There we go. That's perfect. So now, just painting. This is the direct sunlight too. So this is the parts. These are the parts where the sun is directly hitting these shapes. And of course, you can be inventive. Draw that down a little bit. Sort of bring out the shape of her leggings slightly. And expose. So all those little keyboard clicks that you hear, I'm jumping up and down with my brush. I'm jumping up and down. What am I doing? The hell is it called? Opacity levels. And you know, cool thing is that you can actually you can color pick the mask. So if I want something that's this level of darkness, I could just select it, and it selects that color of white or whatever it is. So that's a really handy move as well. So you know, I want that to be a little bit darker. That's totes and shadow. And, you know, in the end, we can probably even do some rim lighting coming from the right side. So just to kind of give an idea of what I'm talking about, what if there's some sort of like a blue highlight coming from the right, right? Something kind of like that. You know, because the rim lighting always, you know, that always really brings out the form. And I'm not going to leave this. This is more just an example of what it could look like. Yeah, you see that? You see how that really just the form just totally pops out, because you really get an idea of how it wraps around. Especially if I put it here in this boot. Yeah, check that out. Just adding just a couple of lines, and things just, you know, just totally pop out. It's just crazy. I love rim lighting. I use it way too much. So let's delete that. I'm gonna go into my pantaloons. Well, I need to go into my shadow layer first. Jump into the mask and kind of soften this up a little bit. Clothes are always fun. And okay, nice. It's looking good. I'm happy. It's a pretty good song. You know that song, the "Cause I'm happy." It's kind of a silly jam, really, but god damn, it's pretty catchy. If it ain't catchy. All right, and then we got these sort of boots. And another thing I'm gonna add that'll really just knock this painting out of the park is an underlighting. And what I mean by that is I believe it'll be best expressed in her face or the breasts. So if I go here, so we want to think about the lighting from, because there's all sorts of lighting going on here. There's not just the light from the sun. Well, that is the main light source, right? But there's also, so if the sun is coming down like this, bam, it's hitting her hard. Here, 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 here. But the thing is, light doesn't just stop, it bounces. So we need to think about our forms here. So for instance, we have our breasts. So if I select, that is a total gray. So if I select that gray color and bump up the saturation and the brightness, now we have some bounce light coming from underneath. And you see how that just totally just opens up a whole new avenue of form. Look at that. And now it just looks like she's glowing. And now if I go into the face, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring up the brightness and the red. And let's actually drop the brightness a little bit. And put that into her face and chin. And of course you kind of want to blend it a little bit so that her face almost glows. You see? And you see how her face starts to pop out from underneath her hood. Look at that. So I'm going to get rid of that layer too, because we still haven't quite finished our multiply layer. Alright, so there's a few things I'm going to do. I'm just going to brighten up the shoes a little bit, because I want these to be seen. Oh no, I'm not on my mask. Okay, let's jump to the mask. Wait, I am on the mask. Why is that? Oh, because that's part of that. Okay. So I need to stay within the shoe. Just kind of brighten that up a little bit, because her feet are going to be, yeah, I kind of want them to be sort of dusty, right? And I think, I'm kind of starting to think with these live streams that, you know, I'm just going to give you an idea of what I'm doing, because yeah, I want to make something, contrary to what I was saying about like making a portfolio piece and how bad that is. I want to make something that's like good and finished and clean, and I don't necessarily want to rush everything so much that my final product is just baloney. So I want these live streams to be more about the process, and you listening to my voice. Hi, mom. Oh my god. All right. Cool. Oh man, I'm pretty excited about this. I'm so excited. This is kind of jacked up. Let's fix that a little bit. And I'm using the bracket keys to. I'm a bracket key kind of guy. To change the brush size. That's that noise. Woo! All right, nice. She's looking even more bestial. And I don't think, I feel like her clothing is sort of boring. And I don't think it's quite finished yet. And there's also I'm going to have to add another layer of multiply because there's some areas that just aren't dark enough yet. For instance, in here, this needs to be much darker, like almost black. But that'll come later. Now, let's go into our besicle and see what we can do here. What are we doing? Oh, it's already exposed. Okay, so right, we need to reveal the brights. Because I'm happy. Nice, that looks pretty good. Right. Alright, so these are pretty important parts in here. So that would be more like this if you want to get that sense of that angle on these little platforms here, or these little plates. Okay, and this will be fully in light. Yeah, and this is really starting to come alive. This is great. And I mean, this is definitely going to serve very well from our reflected light from our rim lighting. The bicycle, once we really pull in out or take what's the expression? Pull out all the stops. Pull all the stops. Yeah, pull all the stops. Like that expression actually comes from organ playing. So from playing the organ. So when you pull out all the stops to an organ, that's when the organ is the loudest. So that's what they mean when they say to pull out all the stops. You're pulling out all the stops in the organ. So just finding the areas that are in light. And these are going to be even brighter. Look, so the form is already really starting to come out. And yeah. So let's see. So the light is coming down. So this is going to be kind of like that. Because this is covering. It's casting this in shadow. Always got to think about these things. This form here. Yeah, maybe I can even... I think I want to bring that even further, like that. So you see with this method, we really have a lot of control. I mean, we can even change the color of the shadow, which is great. I mean, you know, we're in our multiply layer, so I can come right in and, you know, make it darker, make it lighter. I can do whatever I want. So if you're not good with color, I definitely recommend this approach. And also a great thing is when the lighting is rather complicated, which it typically is, this is a pretty good method because you can split your lighting into segments, which is like what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna split kind of like what I was showing before. I'm gonna split. So again, just really quick, I'm gonna split my rim lighting into one layer and then my bounce light into another layer. So essentially there'll be and then the main layer of sun, which will be in another layer, which is actually probably just this color. So and then you know you have the ability to mess with all of those, and then on top of everything, that's when I'll go in and paint and you know really try to unify this and make it look like paint, because that's the goal. Let's see, so we want to hide the color. Let's see. Cause I'm happy. Let's see. And shiny surfaces and chrome, that stuff's typically pretty fun to paint. It's actually not too hard. Well, actually, yeah, it is. Everything's hard. Just depends on the angle of what you're drawing it at. You know, sort of like the way you've challenged yourself. Did you challenge yourself? Always ask yourself, did you challenge yourself? Alright. And then this guy back here is getting just pelted by light. I don't know exactly what is going on back there yet, but we will figure that out. I'm making a lot of problems for my future self. That's typically how I work, though. Just endless procrastination. It's endless. Okay. Oh yeah, and you can ask questions too, if there's anyone watching. Yeah, I guess there's like a weird little way that you can ask questions, which is pretty interesting. Maybe someday. Oops. Still trying to get used to this whole YouTubeage. Trying to get a like a pretty good routine going with with actually making these videos, right? You know, making the process videos and what have you, all that fun stuff. But yeah, my girlfriend is pregnant. She's super pregnant now. So, I mean, we'll see how far these go. Because once the baby's here, I don't think I'll be really into making any of these. I'll just be like, I'm done. And move on to taking care of a human being, which would be so crazy. Oh my god. Yeah, I see a lot of people asking about brushes, like what kind of brush to use in Photoshop. And I swear to God, the brush I always end up using is just the regular standard brush. Like it is just the tits. I mean, you know, there's all these other fancy brushes like Kyle Webster's brushes and everything, but yeah, in the end, I always end up just defaulting to just the standard round brush with a little bit of you know, pen pressure in the opacity channel. Bam. Okay, nice. So this is without the shadow layer, with the shadow layer. So you see how much we've gained from that layer alone, which is insane. I'm surprised, for Christ's sakes. Um, so now, maybe what we could do is add an even darker shadow layer. Shadow. Ooh, what about that? So it's just I'm just kind of checking out my bike right now. Yeah, I'll leave it like that. It's kind of cool. Cause I'm happy. Oh yeah, we need to go under here and sort this out. Sort and sort and sort and sort and sort. Yeah, this would be fun. All that stuff under there. Okay, cool. Let's see. What do I want to work on now with our bike? With our biker chick. She's just so cool. Let's see. I'm gonna fix my mask a little bit. Let's see. So I have this. Cause I'm happy. Okay. Is this working? What's going on? Okay, it is working. Yeah, let's do that. So let's replace and replace one more time. Just expose that area back there. I'm gonna jump to the back layer and just fill that in. Huh, why is that there? Oh, because of our shadow layer. Okay. Let's see. There we go. Cool. So now just adding that, we get a little bit of complexity within the bike. And again, this is something that I could take care of. I guess I'm just sort of beginning to jump into the complexities of the bike. So now I'm going to make a dark, like a darks layer. Yeah, let's call it that. Which I'm going to bring this. Let's see. Yeah, maybe I could just do that. And delete my layer mask. And I'm going to bring that down even further. I'm gonna make a layer mask, fill it with black, and then reveal it for those really dark areas. Because I really like to really establish. Oh man, I didn't save. Oh, okay, I just saved. I really like to establish the darks first before jumping in the lights, because I feel like, you know, I think it's really just a preference, thing. I don't think it matters. I mean, if you're like the type who just, you know, who just go in and just paint, good for you. Because that is not my forte. So we get this kind of sort of ambient occlusion within these areas. And let's make this a little bit more general. You know, I'm not gonna be so stuffy in these areas. Really just kind of make the shadows a little bit bigger, a little bit smoother, if you will. Okay. And it's not a hard shadow there. That's just an ambient shadow. Cool. So already we're getting something. And I think when you really nail your shadows, doing the lights is easy. Because, I mean, once you hit your shadows, I mean, your lights are already there, in a sense. Right? Right. Don't argue with me. You see how we're really starting to carve out the form now. She's becoming a real person. So just kind of messing around down here. Ooh, that's looking good. Yeah, I really like the way this is coming out. I'm really happy with this. Let's actually cover that because that's actually pretty high up in the lighting. So I'm going to leave that the way it is. Let's see, where else can we have these darks? Here in the hand. And in some places in the boot. But not everywhere in the boot, just a few spots. Maybe like along this edge, this will be sort of what Leonardo da Vinci called the terminator. Like the darkest point of the light source. So like you know, as the light source comes down, it hits the cylindrical surface, and then once the light stops, it turns into its darkest point, and then just beyond that is your reflective light. Just so you know. Alright. Cool. And perhaps you can jump in here, add just a little bit of extra shadow. This is just extra shadow I'm adding. So you see now we're kind of pushing that arm back, which looks pretty good. Just kind of knocking that back, just knocking it back. Just knocking it back. Actually gonna bring that back. Yeah, the pant leg I think is looking pretty damn good. I'm just gonna leave that the way it is. All right, so let's call this darks. And yeah, this is a necessary layer. I'm sorry. You might not think it is, but god damn it. Oops. All right, and then with our chrome here, or with our shiny reflective surface, again, we're going to mark that termination line right there. It's 321, and we're about to be finished here. Well, not really finished, but you know what I mean. My plan is to throw this at the Procreate. My process recently has been pretty nice. It's I'll work on I'll start something in Procreate, or I'll start something in Photoshop, and then I'll throw it into Procreate, which is basically the Photoshop for your iPad Pro, and then work on it on the go, which has been pretty beautiful. I say pretty a lot, don't I? Just because the world is so pretty. It's so pretty. Alright, just kind of blocking in some of these forms in here. So this will be in sort of like a darker shadow. Actually, no, because this would be, yeah, like from here, that would be sort of darker. Yeah, you see that? You see that nice little bit of chrome right there? I'm just going to try to block that out even more. Yeah, those are the things that really make a really nice sort of okay. Believe it or not, this part under here will be lighter because of the reflected light coming from the ground. Again, these are just things you need to think about. And I'm not looking at any reference or anything. I'm just kind of just sort of winging this. I should be looking at reference. I'm very bad about looking at reference, but look at how this shape is really coming together. I'm pretty happy with that. I don't know what the hell it is, but I think it's looking pretty cool. Whatever the hell it is. Okay. And then there'll be some nice ambient darkness here. So this is more or less the ambient dark part that I'm filling in. And I actually believe that we want this in here because it's round in there. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty good. Pretty good. All right. just be pretty light with, you know, application of the color. And since this is the ambient light, I'm gonna try to be more, just spread it out a little bit more, not, you know, not make it too, except for here, because we're gonna need our terminator line, because this guy's gonna be shiny as F. Okay, so before we end today, I know it's really sad, but you know, every amazing thing has to end at some point. I think Albert Einstein said that. But do not be afraid, because I will be back. All right, cool. All right. Oh. All right. So before I depart, let's start adding in the brights. Let's really start bringing this out. Start making this shit pop. So we can take our mask and pull that up. And like I said before, I just like working from the mask. Some people don't like doing that, but I sure as hell do. So let's think about the color of our light source, which is the sun, which is like a yellow-white, right? I mean, it really is just super fucking bright. I mean, what's brighter than the sun? So this is on overlay, and let's see how this looks. Yeah, that's looking pretty nice. Ooh, baby. Oh, doggy. Yeah, so now we get to really start carving out our forms. And this is when the image really starts to wake up, in a sense. Oops. Scheiße. Right, let's see. And I'm actually going to erase that because I don't like that. Some areas need to be whiter, right? Like, for instance, this yellow light doesn't work here. Does it work here? Yeah, it works there. Right? So, let me think. What if I just took that and just put that all the way up? Because it's white light, right? And she's out in the sun. I really like the way the hood looks, but there are some places that need to be white, like here, and in her shirt too, because I want this to be white. And now essentially this is how we get our check that out. I am. Oh shit. Cool. Yeah, and this is how we get our brights in there. So along with the shadows, so the shadows have their own shape, and the brights have their own shape as well. So I'm going to take my eraser and bring down the opacity on my eraser and my brush to about 30, just so I can get this sort of nice rounded edge on the breasts here. You gotta take your time on the breasts. On the breast. So yeah, I think this is that, we're sort of starting to lose that, you know, desert wanderer white, which I liked. So maybe we could knock back the color a little bit. But let's go in here. Let's go in here to our boots, which are her boots. And we'll just start adding some kind of brief color here. And I'm squinting a lot because you know, I really want to, it's difficult to kind of tell if what I'm doing is working until I zoom back out. So I don't want to be too zoomed in. Whoops, I don't want the pen tool. Effing pen tool. I hate the pen tool. And we're kind of losing some of our shape in the pants here. I'm just going to get rid of all that. And I'm going to take a little bit more time once we're done with the live stream, which is now, basically. So I'll just fill in a couple more things. And let's see. And we could start here. Bam, check that out. So really quickly, while we're all still here, I'll start filling in these parts in the chrome. So chrome is actually, or that's, you know, shiny surface material stuff is actually really fun. You just kind of, it's all about, what happened? Oh, geez, Photoshop just froze for a sec. That was very frightening, because I didn't save. But yeah, it's all about just kind of understanding how light bends once it hits a curved surface. Which, I mean, you know, I'm not like an expert at it, but I kind of know how it works. It's the flat surface that are difficult. So, all right. Oh, this is just balling. So really quick, we can just go. Yeah, just like that. It's hitting the sun hard, really hard. And, you know, get these guys in there. So those little flecks of sparkle is usually the way to do it. It's pretty nice, actually. I'm going to leave that. So now, I'm really going to blow your mind here. Going to work this shape in, and gonna blow up my brush, select my soft round brush, and you might be asking yourself, Max, what are you doing? Just check that out. Would you look at that? Holy crap. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Bam. Get out of town, son. Just seriously, back off. Tired of it. Tired of all the bullshit. Alright, just to finish off the stream. The strizine. I'll just paint a little bit of chrome there. This one's actually kind of tricky. So let's see. So it's curving like this, but it's also curving like that. So we're gonna want something like that, more or less. Oh man, this is so nice. Okay. All right, and let's do that little nice gradient trick back there. Awesome. All right, so we're still far from being done. Still a lot more to do. And the last move I'm gonna do on this, which is also just gonna completely blow your mind. Just, you know, try not to panic. Ground shadow. And you might just be like, no, impossible. Impossible. Current layer. Ground shadow. So I'm going to put this on to multiply, so it'll be the same color as our shadow up top. And let's see, so we just got to color in the right area. So this is a floating bike, right? So something kind of like that. All right. Nice ground shadow. Or at least just getting started with the ground shadow. Just getting something into place. And it actually needs to be a little bit darker. And I wanted to get the ground shadow in there because it's actually pretty important for the whole composition of the piece. Let's see, I'm gonna bring in my eraser, erase some of this. Ooh, that's a lot. And drop the opacity. Cool, huh? Nice. So, I think that's looking pretty good for today. Let's actually throw in a little bit more blue. There we go. Nice. Oh boy. Yeah, once we get all the other light sources in there, this is gonna be bonkers. So what we did, just to recap really quick, is if I turn off all my color layers, so we changed the background, right? We filled it, we had our mask, we filled her in, and we set up our base color layer, the color that we were going to stick with throughout the entire painting. We painted her first, we set down all the colors that we wanted, and then we filled in the color of the bike, which is nice because I can still go in and change everything because all of these other layers are on they're on different modes, right? And I'm only using one color for each. So if I were to change the color of the bike, it the colors that are acting as the highlights will, like for instance, if I just showed you, for crying out loud, the colors that are acting as the highlights will still work. See? So I'll cancel that. So that's pretty nice. So we set up our nice shadow layer, right? This is like our blocked in shadows. And then we had a shadow copy, which I'm going to call AO for ambient occlusion. And then we hit our brights. And this is only the first bright layer. Once we get everything else in there, this is going to look just really, really nice. And the form's really starting to come together, and there's definitely a lot of other things that need to be solved, which I'm probably gonna do a lot of that stuff outside of the stream, and then of course we have our ground shadow. But yeah, this is looking pretty good. This is pretty exciting. So yeah, next time we will, well, I'll probably keep on working on this, so you probably won't even see the process, but I will record what I'm doing. So yeah, thanks for watching.